Session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. Councilman Wright, please stop harassing the clerk so she can read the Open Public Meeting Act.
In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of the Tuesday, September 24th, 2019 work session regular meeting of the Franklin Township Council was provided as required by law.
If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and followed by the invocation of Councilman Will Galtieri. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it is
indivisible, with justice for all.
As we gather here today as members of the Township Council, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas on those things upon. Let us continue to strive to make a better world.
Amen. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Chase. Here. Councilwoman Francois. Councilman Galtieri.
Here.
Mayor Kramer.
Here.
Councilman Onijaka. Councilman Prasad.
Here.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
We are now on to item number 5, proclamations for something I'm very excited about, Tink's Golden Girls. Ms. Pruitt, if you would join me. Council. Lennial.
So it is my honor to this commendation. So whereas Tink's Golden Girls was founded by Tiana Grisham, Tink, in April 2019, and whereas Tink's Golden Girls is an organization whose mission is to empower girls in the surrounding communities with the goal of coming together as one with the hope to create a strong sisterhood with great longevity, and whereas Tink's Golden Girls provides opportunities to the girls to participate in many different activities, events, and outings, and whereas Tink's Golden Girls provides sessions to empower girls that include discussions on hygiene, self-esteem, friendship, stranger danger, bullying, and etiquette, and whereas Tink's Golden Girls held a backpack drive on August 25th, 2019, and gave away over 100 backpacks, and now, therefore, I, Councilwoman Crystal Pruitt, and Philip Kramer, Mayor, on behalf of the Franklin Township Council and the entire Franklin community, do hereby extend commendations in the highest regard to the members of Tink's Golden Girls in honor of their selfless dedication and service to the residents of the Township of Franklin. Thank you so much, ladies.
Did you say a word?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. First and foremost, I wanted to thank Mayor Kramer for giving me this opportunity and bringing us to light in the community. And I just wanted to let everyone know we're trying to do a good thing for the community, and this is just a start. We're here to build our youth, and yeah, we're not stopping. We're just going to go up from here.
So what impressed me most about Tiana was she wrote me an email saying she was having a problem getting a spot at the park, but she's just going to go ahead and do it on her own property. This is the backpack drive, and it was just the drive of her is just. It reminds me. I hope this reference means something. When the Americans stormed Normandy Beach, they had all these plans and docks and everything, and they sank. And they couldn't be used, and they just did it anyway. So with the same will and drive of a landing force of a Navy, she just goes on and she finds a way no matter what obstacle you put in her way. And the work she's doing is so great, empowering young women and teaching young women. I'm a big fan of hers, and someday she won't run against me for mayor. When she runs for mayor, I'm just going to step aside.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to open for public session?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of opening for public discussion, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion is carried. We're open to public discussion. Anyone wishing to speak may come up to the microphone, state their name, address, and speak about anything related to government. You get 5 minutes. You can only come up once, no yielding of time, and you must address the council. Seeing no one? I'm kidding.
Linda Powell, 22 Buffer Drive. Excuse me. I attended the Franklin Board of Health meeting a little while ago, and I think I misspoke saying there were 700 toxins associated with the type of compressor station that William Transco wants to build here in Franklin. I think it was 70 known toxins. There's probably a lot of other toxins that are public health hazards that aren't known because our former Vice President Dick Cheney, in his association with Enron, made sure that hydraulic fracturing was exempt from the Clean Water Act. So all the chemicals used in that or released from that process that we call fracking are not known or recorded as industry toxins, but they are in the gas that we're getting through our gas pipelines. So there may be a lot of other toxins that are public health hazards that are not known. We're at a point now, we're supposed to have our next meeting here on October 7th at 8 o'clock, checking with the township manager, Mr. Vornlocker, to see what room will be in, possibly will be in the council chambers. And we're inviting community members to come and learn where we're at now in terms of this 3-year ongoing process, fighting this compressor station and pipeline that they want to build under Raritan Bay. And at this point, we've been told that the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection has to decide on at least one of the permits by October 25th. It was supposed to be tomorrow, but they delayed it a month at the request of Transco. And if they do deny the permits, which we're hoping, Transco, we think that what they will do is take it to court and not reapply for a 4th time. So we need to know what our actions are going to be in the future. And we will have a table at Franklin Day, so people should come by. Since there were no public meetings after this new application that Transco submitted on June 12th, we have a petition that people could sign, one way to save paper rather than signing letters and sending them in. And so come by, sign the petition, and pick up information to understand better why we're trying to prevent this project, the Northeast Supply Enhancement Project, otherwise known as NESE, N-E-S-E, or check out information on our website, which is scrap, SCRAP-NESE.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Mayor, seeing no one come forward, a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion is carried. Public portion is closed. We have no, oh, I'm sorry, of course we do. Wouldn't that be nice if we had no council and committee report? I would certainly speed up the meeting. Council and committee reports and comments. We will start with Councilwoman Pruitt.
Okay, so 2 things I do want to announce. Our township manager did bring this up our last meeting, but I did also want to highlight again that we do have a senior expo coming up on Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Right here in our senior center. We also, and one of these events is actually happening right now, but through Youth Alliance, there is a back to school night currently happening at SDS and the middle school. And tomorrow there's back to school night for the high school from 6 to 8 p.m. We had a public safety meeting, but I will defer that to either Councilman Galtieri, or Deputy Mayor Vastanella, or the mayor to talk about traffic issues. And I was able to attend the Office of Diversity and Inclusion's NJ Connects program, which is a really interesting economic development incentive. So there were some good nuggets that I learned there. And in keeping this brief, I would like to pass it on.
Thank you very much, Councilman Galtieri.
All right, so I will touch base on, or just for public safety was the only committee that's met for me for the past 2 weeks. So the topic that we brought up was one that I have been following. It's the New Brunswick Road and Willow intersection. So the recommendations moving forward are after there is an uptick in accidents occurring at the intersection. So the recommendations right now are the engineers will be, our engineering team will be looking at several improvements to the intersection, starting with additional line painting and signs and the clearing of brush. We'll start with those. Once those recommendations are made by the engineer, we'll see if we can implement them in a timely manner, and then observe the traffic for the intersection. This does not rule out any further steps, but for now, the goal is that by doing these measures that are well established, that this will help with the traffic, reduce the traffic accidents and incidents at that intersection. So that was what our main topic for the meeting today, or one of the main topics for our meeting today, and that's where we are with the intersection. So trust me, I am watching it. I know I've said publicly that I am watching it. I hear about it from that, and since I live close to it and have to travel through it every day, it is something that's near and dear, and that we're going to continue to make sure that people are safely able to travel that. That is not to say that we're ignoring any other intersection throughout the municipality. This is just the hot topic right now that we're focusing on. So, but if you have questions about that, comments, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, because that is why I'm here, is to listen to your concern. Okay, and that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll skip on over to Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have one thing to say, because I only attended one meeting, because that's what we had on tap for the month of September. One of the things that we did at the Recreation Advisory Council meeting was when vaping, the harmful, depending on where you are, product of vaping and the bullying of children in our school system. So one of the things they want the Municipal Alliance, one of their focus groups, is that let's talk about vaping. Let's talk about what we do and how we can solve the issue. And one of the comments I made was, yes, we can do all of that, and it would be good for our community. But sometimes we miss the very people that we want to talk to, because those are the very people that don't show up. So we have to find a way to bring those individuals to the meeting so that they can understand some of the issues involved with vaping and bullying, which is an ongoing process here in school. Swimming. Some of the issues that we have with the pool this year, and it's ongoing, is everyone complained about they didn't have enough lifeguards. And that's one of the things that I brought up at the the Recreation Advisory Committee. And Mr. Sipowicz, our director, said that all avenues were pursued to obtain lifeguards. They were just not available. We went to all the places that we could, including Rutgers. We went to some of the avenues, as say Rutgers Prep. We went to every place known, and the problem we have is, why would someone want to come to be a lifeguard at our facility take the chance on that when they could go someplace else and work 5 days a week. So there's that little issue there. If we're not open every single day, they're not making money. Cost, I believe, was sort of neutral about the pay. But again, why come to our little pool when you can go someplace else and make more money every single day? That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Councilman Professor Dr. Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We haven't had any meetings of committees that I'm on since the last meeting. Today, I spent the bulk of the day at the biannual Complete Streets Summit sponsored by the Voorhees Transportation Center and the New Jersey Department of Transportation, down at the Rutgers Student Center. And I think one thing I came away with is that it would, and for those who don't know, complete streets means making our streets, including, for instance, sidewalks and bicycle paths, available, accessible, safely usable to pedestrians, bicyclists. In some communities, they're starting to have a lot of these electric scooters. And this often comes down to modifying the streets. Typically, just the cheapest way to do it is to paint, define a bicycle lane by painting, and that narrows down the automobile traffic lanes, which has a tendency to slow traffic on them down. This is what Councilman Galtieri was talking about for the New Brunswick Road, Willow Avenue intersection. And as it happens, we have a couple of experts in this area in our township, one of them, Charles Brown, who's on the planning board, who was the principal organizer of this whole meeting that I was at. And in fact, he sent an email saying, somebody from Franklin better come to this to receive the plaque that we got for having adopted finally a complete streets policy for the township, which is to consider ways we can make the streets more complete, particularly when we repave a street or redo a street in a major way. You know, most of our streets are there and we're not doing anything major to them, and then we have to look at what we can do that's minor. We should be looking at ways we can have more sidewalks. One topic that's dear to my heart, but there's difficulties involved, would be to have an off-street walkway from the Pear Tree Lane area of the townhouses in Franklin Park to the new Claremont Avenue School, so that children could walk from a large area of townhouses there to the school, and they'd get more exercise. There's a lot of point to making our streets more complete in terms of improving people's health if they walk them or bicycle them more. So I came away with the feeling that we really ought to have a complete streets advisory council or committee to advise us and advise particularly the Department of Public Works, what we can do to make our streets more complete whenever we have the opportunity at the least. So that's something I'd like to throw on the table for council to consider. Another thing the Environmental Commission has been discussing and so far just collecting examples of ordinances banning single-use plastic bags as given out by our supermarkets. Probably should be talking to the supermarkets first about this, and if we did anything of the sort, typically municipalities adopting such have a lead time of 6 months or a year, during which perhaps they put a fee on such plastic bags to encourage the public to use renewable multi-use bags. In fact, many of our supermarkets sell such bags for a nominal fee, like 99 cents, and many nonprofit organizations give them out, enough so that I have 6 or 7 in the back seat of my car for use whenever I shop in any way. And you have to remember you can use them at the hardware store too, for instance. So these are some things that are under discussion right now. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Councilman Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Admin, we had no meeting. Community Foundation, we had no meeting. Land use tomorrow, we're not going to have a meeting. And the compressor hasn't had meetings in the last month, and so they're having a meeting on the 7th of October at 8 p.m. here. And please sign up for their petition at the Franklin Day Festival. In fact, everybody should show up for the Franklin Day Festival on the 28th, Saturday, between 12 and 5. It's a great gathering, and let's see if we can top the 15,000 number that we had last year. Other than that, happy Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to all my Jewish friends. We've got high holy days coming up, and with that, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Jim Vassanella.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Central Jersey Housing Resource Center board meeting, which I'm a member of the board, and everything is going excellent regarding Franklin Township's affordable housing requirements and implementation. And there are some home buying seminars, financial literacy seminars, etc., which will be held throughout the county, and I believe a couple, or one specifically here in Franklin, and they will be advertised on our website, I believe, especially if they're held here in our town. Are part of the resource center's reach out to Franklin residents. Franklin Day was mentioned, big celebration, and I believe the weather's supposed to be pretty good. It seems like every year it's pretty hot on that day. Public safety, the main issue was covered by Will, and there's a couple other intersections we are looking at, which we're in the process of seeing if we can have some remedies similar or different than some that seem to be headed to be in place, put in place for the New Brunswick intersection you referenced earlier. Some ongoing issues, none of which there's anything specific to report on. And just reference to Councilman Chase, who referenced the committee. I'm not sure exactly what he's trying to do. I was just wondering, and we don't need to get into it here, if we have a trails committee, which I think are all things off the road. But I know over the years, God, I know I have some reports still that have to do with trails and bikeways. So there seems to be a history of them being involved, and actually a whole slew of professional reports that have been done that involve them. So we don't need to get into it here, but I'm wondering if maybe adding something to their mission, or maybe even some members, or sticking with what they have, that committee as well as any of us. But I'm just wondering if maybe we can consolidate and have it in there, since there is a base of information there. And I'll just add one thing to that. In general, I support the trails and bike trails, etc., but I know by following New York's efforts for the last decade, and especially the last several years, when you have really, really high traffic areas, a bike you cannot have a fender bender with a bike. And unfortunately, over the years, although it's not many, we have had our share of people unfortunately killed and a handful of injuries. So now New York is going back, and there's the big fight of now putting barricades. So I just hope any conversation or rollout looks at an area, not just for today, but down the road based on our economic development and other traffic flows, because you cannot, in my opinion, risk anything when you have a bike, helmet or no helmet. So if there's any kind of barricades or other apparatus, in my opinion, we need to do it very carefully, because I do support it. But some situations where these trails have taken off, bike mixed with the roads, now they're going back and realizing they need to maybe be a little bit more conscious of the safety aspects. So I just wanted to mention that, because I think we'll be moving forward with something in that direction, as we already have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'm going to segue, yes, Councilwoman Kimberly Francois was called out of the room for a moment, so yes, you do have a chance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I also wanted to commend Tiana Gresham, better known as Tink. I see she left. I know that they've done a lot of work here in the community already, and I wanted to say something to her specifically and publicly. I know several months ago they came to the Somerset Community Action Program and was asking to use the space for meetings. And we ran into some process issues regarding liability insurance, fees, maintenance costs, and opening up the room to the public. And the board of directors kind of worked all that out. And so because they were so tenacious and were persistent, after all that time, we were able to give them meeting space. And they're so very energetic that they're meeting twice a week, bi-weekly at SCAP. And so I'm really looking forward to all the work that they're planning on doing in the community. And at some point, we're going to move you over to the youth center where you can have your meetings there as well. So keep up the good work. Also, I wanted to say the the RCDCU bike-a-thon to fight prostate cancer was on this past Saturday. It was the 12th annual bike-a-thon. I know we had one of our riders here in the audience. Mr. Bill Bowman was a cyclist. Believe it or not, he was on the bikes.
Why wouldn't we believe it?
And you should have saw his gear. He was really dressed to impress. The cyclists, they try to raise money for the RCDCU. There's a 3-mile run, a 10-mile run, a 30-mile run, a 30-mile route, and 50-mile route. And this year they had over 100-some cyclists that have come. There were people there that were survivors of prostate cancer. And I just wanted to give some kudos to our Franklin reporter as well for supporting the event, him and his wife. Also, for Johnny Tibbs and the rest of the community that's been asking me about when is the shovel going to be in the ground for the youth center. I rode past there. And I want you to know that if you look, you'll see the surveying stalks. I had to get the right word for it. I was calling them poles, but they're called surveying stalks. So they're in the ground. And next week, we're going to, all the work for the footing and foundation will be laid next week. So you'll actually see some real work being done over there. So we're on schedule. Just be patient. The work is getting done. The youth center is being built. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pruitt had something to say, but as a means of introduction, I would like to congratulate you, Councilwoman, and shame on all of you for not, that she is one of the top 100 millennials in New Jersey. She was just named that, and I think that's quite a big honor, especially since I applied and was rejected. So, so congratulations, Councilwoman, and you had one other item.
Thank you, Mayor. It was an honor to be one of the top 100 millennials that are influential in politics. It was a real honor and surprise. But it was for Linda. Thank you. In my other world, in my other hat, I'm actually organizing a meeting with South Brunswick Council with DEP. So my boss is allowing me to wear my other hat, so I'll be able to kind of also represent the township in the meeting. And I'll be able to report back on kind of what was discussed. So that was it.
Thank you. Okay,
Forgot one thing. I'm sorry, Councilman Wright came over and told me to say this, and I forgot. On October 5th, there's going to be a walkathon.
I knew he had to be part of it.
It's going to be a walk. The Sister to Sister Network is going to have a walkathon, and it is to raise money for breast cancer awareness. This is a very, very big cause, and certainly we want everybody to participate in that.
When is that?
October 5th, over in Colonial Park. And you can actually register on their website. It's S2S at S2SSCNJ.org. Sister to Sister at Sister to Sister Central, SCNJ.org is the website. Did you get that? Okay. Sister to Sister Network. Just Google it, you'll find it.
That's what I was just going to say.
Thank you, Councilwoman Francois.
So now for my comments before we have the third round of council comment.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to commend our master clerk for coordinating the 2020 census with the HRC. So she was there, and she's got it all set and ready to go.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Get a grip, Mayor.
And congratulations to our Councilwoman Pruitt for her award.
Okay, so for my comments, yes, Franklin Day, don't forget to go. I again want to congratulate Tinks. To her, you can't means I have to find another way. She's just really tenacious is absolutely the right word. And then for the item I've been waiting to talk about is, if you recall, I announced, guess it was a month ago, or a month and a half ago, that I had gone to the Somerset County Board of Freeholders meeting and made some requests. One of them they granted that night, and that was the cleaning of Easton Avenue, or an agreement between us as to who's going to pick up litter. The second, they still haven't come through yet, and that's giving us their videos of their meetings so we can show them on FTTV. But I did get a response on September 12th for our Public Works manager got the response on the South Middlebush Road request for turn lanes between Jake's Lane and Cordeloo Lane. And I won't read the letter because it's pretty technical, but basically they're beginning to look at it. They're beginning to figure out what to do. They outlined several bullet points and steps. Don't expect it to be, up by Thursday, but the work is beginning, and I'm very happy with that. That's going to shorten people's commute, save gas, cut down on pollution, and make me win the Millennial Award. So that is all I have. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to reiterate one, as it's been mentioned by several council members. Franklin Day Festival is this Saturday, the 28th. It is from noon to 5 in Colonial Park. For those of you who are not familiar with what Franklin Day Festival is, it's a day of celebration of the town, and it brings in many, many vendors and exhibitors, live bands and music, children's activities. The kids and adults, for that matter, have an opportunity to take advantage of the putting course at Colonial Park, as well as the paddle boats. There's an art walk. There's many, many food vendors. It's just an overall fun day. And this year, if you would like to meet Miss New Jersey USA 2019, Manya Saraswat, you may come to my table at the community, at the township tent, and she'll be sitting there with me, because it's good to be the township manager sometimes. So not such a bad job on Saturday I will have, as I get to sit with Miss New Jersey USA.
I don't remember that vote.
Well, you didn't
didn't
get a
put it
vote
in your
on that
job
one.
description.
I was able to exercise managerial discretion on this matter, and she will be at the table with me. And it's kind of a neat thing that we get to have Miss New Jersey here with us on Saturday at Franklin Day Festival, but I encourage everyone to come out. As a side note to the events at Franklin Day Festival, construction amnesty is back at the Franklin Day Festival. If you have done some work on your house that perhaps you needed a permit and you didn't get one, or if maybe a previous owner has done work on your house and maybe you're questioning whether they had permits or not when they did that work, I encourage you to go to our construction department table at Franklin Day Festival, and we're offering amnesty. What that means is you will not be penalized, and no civil penalties assessed to you. You'll still have to pay for the permit fees if it's necessary, but no penalties, no punishment. You can make yourself legal, and we encourage everyone who's in that situation to come discuss that with our construction officials, and you can certainly work that out with them. Also, the Somerset Board of Elections is looking for registered voters to work on Election Day. There is a shortage of poll workers. If you are interested in being a poll worker on Election Day, there are links to it and a flyer on our website, but you can also contact our clerk's office, and certainly Anne Marie can assist anyone who wants to become a poll worker. You do get paid $200 to do the work for the day. It's a long day, no question about it, but certainly doing your civic duty as a poll worker is a very honorable thing, and we would appreciate it if you're interested to come out and do it. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We are now on to approval of the minutes. I present the following minute notes for approval by the Township Council Work Session, regular meeting, September 10th, 2019, at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Seconded.
Any corrections? Discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Time to pay the bills with the warrants in the amount of $2,492,245.76 on September 24th are presented to the Township Council for payment. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone want to pull an item, question an item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
We are now on to the public hearings and adoptions for second readings. So the town has a first reading to introduce a ordinance, and then 2 weeks later, a minimum, could be longer than that, they have a second reading, and during the second reading, there is a public discussion item, so the public may weigh in on the idea or not prior to our vote. So we have ordinance 4299-19, an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 112, Land Development regarding permitted use within the RC Renaissance Commercial Zoning District is presented for public hearing and final adoption. The public hearing has been noticed as required. Is there a motion for public hearing?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of opening for public discussion on this item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. We are open for public discussion. Anyone wishing to speak on this item only may come to the podium, state your name and address. That is,
My name is
Speak in the mic.
Oh, okay. Oh. Okay. Good evening. Yeah, my name is Alimatu Cole. My address 56 Eugene Avenue, Somerset, New Jersey, 08873. I received this this ordinance for the building they're trying to build. I don't know exactly where it's going to be, and they said it's going to affect us in Eugene Avenue. So I just want to know how much effect it's going to take on, it's going to be on us, on that area, and so on Eugene Avenue and Ray Street.
Manager.
So the development that this would permit is, it allows for self-storage facilities. That's what the purpose of the ordinance is. It's really where Frank's Building Supply is. That's the property that they're looking to develop. And they own the property behind it as well, behind the building, but it'll be that entire parcel of land all the way out to Route 27. All of what is currently owned by Frank's Hardware, that whole parcel.
So it'll be actually on 27.
It's on, it'll face 27,
Yes.
that's correct, absolutely, yes. No. It's on Route 27 itself, right next to the Wawa.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
If I can also respond, since I've seen this in the planning board, part of the ordinance is to have a 55-foot buffer at the rear of the building. So we'll get a lot of trees in there, and probably a 6-foot high fence to try to minimize any effect of it on you. You'll probably be able to see it. It'll from Eugene Avenue, but from that end of Eugene Avenue, I don't know whether you're at that end, but because it'll be a fairly high building, but we'll make sure that we have as much buffering as we can between the building and the neighboring properties. It hasn't come to the planning board yet for site plan approval, but an awful lot of the detail we've seen already.
I would just make note that if you do have an issue, when you come to that meeting, as Dr. Chase mentioned, because that way you'll hear everything that goes on. And if you have an objection, then come to that microphone. Because if you don't, it'll never come up, and you're stuck with everything that they build.
Any other, anyone else wishing to speak? Ms.
So
Mr. Mayor, seeing no one else come forward, I make a motion to close public session.
Seconded.
Moved in, seconded. All in favor of closing public session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public discussion is closed. We have a motion on the item.
Motion to pass.
Seconded.
Moved in, seconded. I don't have to explain it. It was just been explained. Any other discussion on the item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
We are now on to another second reading, ordinance 4300-19, an ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Franklin County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 226 Vehicles and Traffic, Section 226-30 on-street handicap parking, delete 83 Ambrose Street, is presented for public hearing and final adoption. The public hearing has been noticed as required. Do we have motions open to the public hearing?
Motion for public hearing.
Seconded.
Moved in, seconded. All in favor of opening for public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We are open for public discussion on this item only.
Mayor, seeing no one coming forward, a motion to close the public portion of the
Seconded.
hearing on this ordinance.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Do we have a motion on the item?
Motion for passage.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. This is a handicap parking spot that is no longer needed at 83 Ambrose Street. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
For the last item and the last opportunity to speak for the public, we have 4301-19, a amending the code of the Township of Franklin, Chapter 226, Vehicles and Traffic, and providing new section 226-35, road closures except for emergency vehicles, providing for the closure of Meadow Avenue to all traffic except emergency vehicles, is presented for public hearing and final adoption. The public hearing has been noticed as required. Do I have a motion to open for public hearing?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of opening for public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We are open for public hearing on this item only.
Mayor, seeing no one coming forward from the public, motion to close the public portion of the hearing on this ordinance.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Public hearing is closed. So this is at the end of Bennington Parkway. The very last street off of Bennington goes both left and right off of Bennington. We are closing the turn to the left. There are no houses down there. There is a pump station, and we don't want vehicles on it because they've been dumping trash, et cetera. So any other discussion on the item? I'm sorry. Did I ask for a motion on the item?
No, motion for passage.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion on the item?
Now, Mr. Mayor, I ask, refers to closure to all traffic except emergency vehicles. Are sewage authority vehicles considered emergency vehicles for this purpose?
So this is basically making it no longer a public road, so while it says emergency vehicles, certainly the sewage authority in their need to get to their own pump station have permission to cross the barrier and go to their pump station.
And they're also considered essential employees.
Exactly.
During emergencies, so.
Just thought we should get it in the record.
Yep, they'll be going down the road.
And I hope honestly that they're not going there for an emergency at the pump. So.
So recorded. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
So we're now on to the first readings. These are the readings of ordinance to announce to the public that a public session and vote will come up. Ordinance 4302-19, an ordinance amending the municipal code, Chapter 226, Vehicles and Traffic of the Township of Franklin County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly repealing Section 226-9, temporary parking prohibition for snow plowing and removal, and adding Section 226-9, parking prohibited in snow emergencies. The foregoing ordinance is presented to Township Council for adoption on final reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Thursday, October 10th, 2019 at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Complex. Do I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. For discussion, this is an ordinance with some exceptions of 4 streets and people without driveways will have to remove their cars from the streets when it is snowing, when we are removing snow. And it delineates how you can apply for a permit so that if you are a home that doesn't have a driveway, you can have a sticker on your car so that you will not get ticketed or towed. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I want to highlight that for the permit, it does specifically say there is no charge for the permit, or the parking permit or sticker. So there is no fee for that. It's just so that the plow drivers and the police know that you have received permission to park there.
And the stickers are essentially permanent. You apply once, you get it on there, and as long as you are still living at that address, it applies. If you
And
get
you
a
have the
permit for your
same car.
Yeah, if you get a permit because you're on Livingston Street in Franklin and you try to park on Elizabeth Avenue during a snowstorm, not going to go well for you. Any other discussion? Madam Master Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
For our final ordinance tonight, on first reading, ordinance 4303-19, an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Franklin County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 112, Land Development, regarding permitted uses within the infill residential RF zoning district. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, and publication, in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2000. I'm sorry, I always slow down for that. Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019, at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Complex. Do we have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. So basically, this is an ordinance that will allow for churches or houses of worship, in the RF zone, residential infill zone, which really is, by state statute, should be there. We have no way of stopping them. They are an inherent good use. Our ordinance just wasn't up to speed, and this is really a correction of the ordinance. Do you have anything to add to that, Mr. Manager?
No.
Well, it means that an existing church, if they have to do something which, for instance, expand a little, under the present situation, they couldn't even apply for a use variance to do this, but making them a permitted use will make it possible if they need to modify their building or in anything. And there is, in particular, one church existing in this zone, so this makes life easier for them.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
The next item is the consent agenda, and the township attorney wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if we could, before we vote on the consent agenda, I just want to bring council up to speed on some things that have occurred in the last couple of weeks concerning the contract negotiations with the PBA. I know that they're both on your consent agenda, so I thought that it might make more sense, rather than pull them off, to just do that closed session, which should not be long now, before we vote on the consent agenda.
So do we have a motion to go into executive session for discussion of contract negotiations?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, I'm sorry, is that roll call or?
You could do either, it doesn't matter.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. So we are now going into executive session. The taping will stop temporarily, but there will be action afterwards. So I asked the videographer to stay so that he can tape after we get back in. Thank you. Do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of coming out of executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. So the next item is the consent agenda. Items A through Y, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption.
Motion for passage?
We have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone want to pull an item or discuss an item? Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes. Resolutions to be voted on separately, none. Old business, boards, committees, commissions. Does anyone have a nomination for a board? Hearing none.
Motion for adjournment?
Seconded.
Okay, I didn't call for it, okay. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. We are adjourned.